Greetings and felicitations, everyone. Welcome to the pre-show. That's our 3 minutes of absolutely nothing while we wait for things to get rolling here. And just want to make sure the stream is good. That's good. Mic is good. Testing. 1, 2, testing. 3, 4. Oh, I got feedback coming because I got that on. Boom. Feedback in delay, even. So, what's Chuck say? Adventure can be simple things, going to a local park with your wife for a walk, bringing a bottle of wine and some nice aged cheese. Just chill for a while. Little things count more than big things. Isn't that the truth? And we're going to talk about that a little bit, believe it or not, in this, Chuck. You are right on the same zone, in the same zone, on the same path as I am with this. Hear you 5 by 5, he says. Right on, right on. I have my Explorer's scarf on tonight. I just threw it on fast. It's the one John Ward gave me in Egypt. So, thought I'd put that on tonight. Talking about exploring and some such things like that. So, again, those of you, anybody joining us new, this first 3 minutes is just getting all set up. This is the warm-up. We go live at 3 minutes after the top of the hour. We got about a little over 1 minute left of that. And we're going to talk about tonight how to be an adventurer. What's it like? What do you do to be an adventurer? What's that take? There's even people who are professional adventurers. What do they do to get there? How do they do that? And then being an adventurer, what about the little things in life, like Chuck just said? The little things in life. You might need to write a bucket list. And so we're going to get to that. And we got a lot of stuff here. I even got a little book I want to show off that my son got. It's this one right here. And I thought with the upcoming movie, this would be very appropriate. The Indiana Jones handbook. I just found some fun stuff in that. And I saw that, and that's actually what led me to do this show tonight, was looking at that particular little book. So we're going to go dark. We'll be back live in just a few seconds. Stand by.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey, folks, this is Scotty Roberts. Welcome to the program. This is the Intrepid radio program. We've been broadcasting to you for about 20 years now, and in this format over on Subspace Odyssey Radio for the last 3.5, going on 4 years. 3.5. Well, it'll be 4 years, I think, this August. How about that? And as Randall Flagg says, I'm going on an adventure, he says over in the chat room. And we all know what that's from, if you're into the Lord of the Rings movies at all, or the Hobbit movies, that's something Bilbo Baggins, Bilbo Baggins said in the first Hobbit movie. So thank you for that, Randall Flagg. Everybody that's gathering over in the chat room, welcome. And we've got a handful of you so far. All of those of you who are watching this show or listening to it over on the radio station, you can come and join us in the live chat. The best place to pick up the live chat is over on YouTube, my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. Or go on over to your Facebook page. You can pick up the show on the Intrepid Radio Facebook page or on my personal page, Mr.Scotty.Roberts. And Mr., I believe, is all spelled out. If not, no, it's just Mr.Scotty.Roberts. So come on over and join us. And tonight I picked a topic that was just kind of a fun topic. We get into some pretty deep stuff or riveting stuff, or we want to dig deep. Hey, I just got an announcement that said to be ready to start my live show 5 minutes ago. Thank you for that reminder. And so here we are. And I'm glad you're all here. This is a little more lighthearted, but maybe it will touch some of you in different ways. We may have some friends of mine from over at the Vintage Adventurers Society stop in. And if you do, welcome. Come on into the chat room if you want to join the chat. So everybody who's filing in, thanks for being here. Thanks for giving me your time. Remember, we are starting to port everything over to the Patreon page. There will still be this YouTube channel. There will still be other ways you can see this show. We'll probably still do the Captain's Cabin here on YouTube Live. But the radio show is going to start as soon as I work out all the quirks and get it flowing. It's going to be over on my Patreon page, which is simply patreon.com/Scotty Roberts. And so you can go over and pick up that show. There's already things to listen to over there. And for a mere $4 a month, you can be a member over on my Patreon page. If this show is worth $4 to you a month, that's half a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Go on over and join. And you'll help this cause, help build this show again up into something. I'd love to see this show be something that becomes really my sole source of revenue flow. And that gives me then the ability to really increase what we're doing here. Enough on that. We've talked about that enough over the last couple of weeks. So thanks for being here. Go over, check out the Patreon page, see what's up there now. And tonight, I want to start off with, I got this little book at the thrift store for my son, Flynn. They had, no, it wasn't the thrift store. I take that back. I'm sorry. This one was from our next door neighbor. She's a school teacher, and she was getting rid of a bunch of books that she had on hand that she's not using anymore. And she had a couple this size, little Indiana Jones adventures. So I grabbed those for Flynn. And then this one was there too. It's the Indiana Jones Handbook, the Complete Adventurer's Guide. And that's what that looks like. I don't know what the 41 was. That was her own marking for her classroom, I guess. But there you go, the Indiana Jones Handbook. And I thought, oh, that's kind of neat. It says on the back cover, sorry, I got to do this because I'm old. It says, for every fan who's dreamed of cracking a bullwhip, rescuing lost treasures, and evading giant runaway boulders, the Indiana Jones Handbook features essential information for would-be adventurers of all ages, complete with helpful diagrams, step-by-step instructions, and full-color photography. This thrilling guide shows readers, 1, how to identify booby traps. 2, how to fend up. As a field guy could use this. How to identify booby traps. Field guy, one of our listeners, for those of you who don't know. 2, how to fend off a gang of swordsmen. 3, how to ride an elephant. 4, how to decipher hieroglyphics and lost languages. And 5, how to escape the wrath of God. And dozens of other crucial skills for any archaeologist in training. So there you go. That's what this book is all about. It's by Denise Kierman and Joseph Dagne. It's French. D''Agnese. Dagne, however you say it in French. But what was funny about this, I wasn't originally thinking of this topic until I picked this book up and I said, oh, this looks kind of fun. And I flipped it open, and the very first thing I saw was here. This chapter, I flipped it open, how to mount and ride a horse. And I thought, that's interesting. If nothing else, for a little shits and giggles on the show tonight. And it says here in this chapter, archaeological excavations of chariot burials, where chariot, horse, and driver are buried together, indicate the horses have been domesticated for thousands of years, and for good reason. A horse can be a worthy ally and a companion on many different kinds of experiments or expeditions. Now, I will tell you this, one thing for sure. I had some pretty good horses in my day, and had a great horse that Andrea Molnix, who comes in here every now and then, they were over on the ranch. We were buying the ranch from her and her husband, and when we were there, and that horse, I left him there at the ranch. His name was Murphy, and they ended up selling him as a roping horse, barrel racing, and things like that for a good, a very goodly price. High five figures, low six figures, if I'm not mistaken. And so he'd be starting to get a little old now. He's probably pushing 20 now. And I had him when he was 3 years old. So, yeah, a horse can be dependable, but I have yet, even with Murphy, as good a horse as he was, as loyal as he was to me, what a good riding and roping horse he was. I could never whistle from a distance and have him come and fetch me. Like Roy Rogers and Trigger. So no, wait, Roy Rogers was his Trigger? Silver, yeah, Silver was the Lone Ranger. So Roy Rogers, Trigger. Anyway, I had yet to whistle and call my horse, and he came bringing me an apple or something. So anyway, that goes on, and it says, more importantly, a horse can maneuver tight spots and go places other vehicles cannot. For this reason, an element of surprise can be achieved while on horseback. Riding along a ridge parallel to a road, for example, can give you an excellent advantage when you're hoping to catch others off guard or leap from your horse to the back of a speeding truck. Indy used this tactic with great success when pursuing Belloc and the Germans' convoy after his escape from the Well of Souls. And horses have excellent vision under a variety of conditions. Your mode of transportation might see something you don't, a poisonous snake, for example, and save your neck in the process. To take full advantage of a horse's potential, it helps to understand a few basic pointers. And then this book, they'll tell you how to mount a horse. They're going to tell you, here's something we all know. Well, that I know, maybe some of you know. They've got bullet points here. The way to mount a horse: stand to the left of the horse. Grab the reins and mane in your left hand. Place your left foot in the stirrups, toes forward, not toward the horse. Hold the pommel or the front of the saddle with your right hand. Push off the ground with your right foot. Shift your body weight to the left foot. Swing your right leg over the horse. Place your right foot in the stirrup and take the reins. And you're ready to roll. It's also got starting, stopping, and turning a horse. It's got some great diagrams here on how to do things. There you can see they've got Indiana Jones illustrated there, mounting his horse. That's a tall horse he's getting on, by the way, by those illustrations. That horse right there has got to be about 16 hands tall. I think Murphy was 14 and a half hands. This one's 16, which makes that's kind of like thoroughbred racing horse height right there. So then the very next chapter is how to mount and ride an elephant. So this looks like a very handy book. You might want to find this if you're interested in it. It was published in, I'm looking here. Wow, there's a lot of information here. 2008, originally published by Quirk Productions. That was the first printing. So copyright 2008 by Lucasfilms. So there you go. There's that book, the Indiana Jones Handbook, The Complete Adventurer's Guide. I thought that would be kind of fun. Well, having seen that today, I thought, wow, I should do a whole show on the topic of how to be an adventurer. Is there a handbook? Is there 14 hands, says Paige Rockwell Soiree. Aisha Soiree here. Let's see. Chuck Thurston said, I tried to do a running mount from behind the horse, got kicked in the gut. Not going to happen again. I only got kicked a couple of times. I was training a horse and he kicked me. He got me in kind of the to the right of all my valuable junk and got me in the pelvis. And I ended up with my cowboy boot and my pointy-toed cowboy boot. I kicked him right back in the same spot. His ears went back in his head, and I go, knock that off. And he never kicked me again, which was kind of cool. So I'm glad he didn't square me in other ways that afternoon. So horse was my first word, says Philip Blair. I was pointing to my mom's Arabian gelding, who was very kid-friendly. Apparently, it sounded like I was saying, ho, as I pointed to him. Very nice. And then you grew up and you dropped the RS anyway. Ho! So, adventure. Let's talk about adventure. I talk a lot about adventure, about being an adventurer, about doing adventurous things, when in truth, I haven't done a fraction of what many other people out there have done who are actual adventurers. It's like archaeology. I am not an archaeologist. I've worked with archaeologists. I've been able to, under their watchful eyes, perform some archaeological tasks, digs and stuff like that. But I am not an archaeologist. I did not go to school for that. I'm not an adventurer in the sense that I have a regular, normal life. But something you're going to find is that, and we're going to cover this in one of the points tonight, is most adventurers, quote unquote, they've got daytime jobs, so to speak. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit and the interesting side of all of this. And so the first thing I want to look at, how does one become a professional adventurer, meaning somebody who does this for a living? In a sense, there have been some points in my life where I've been able to engage in being a professional adventurer. Although that is, you could call me an adventurer, but I have to be very humble and a bit modest about that, is that that's not my full-time gig. As most of you know, I'm a writer, I'm an artist. I do other things for a living. Adventure is the thing I like to do whenever I have the opportunity to do it. This is why I adopted as my mantra that Mark Twain quote that I will give you again now to launch this, all the things we're going to talk about tonight. 20 years from now, you'll regret more the things you didn't do than the things you did do. So cast off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, set your sails to the trade winds, explore, dream, discover. Mark Twain said that, or a variation of that. There's been some controversy over whether that's how he actually wrote it or said it. But for me, I look at that and I say, what does that mean to me? And take that on for a second. If I say to you 20 years from now, you'll regret more the things you didn't do than the things you did do, what does that tell you? You don't want to get 20 years down the road and say, oh, that thing I wanted to do back then, I wish I'd done it because now I can't, or now I don't have the ability, or I'd already have that experience under my belt. So cast off from the safe harbor. Sail away, set your sails to the trade winds and explore, dream, discover. Many of us we have our own little elements of being tied down in life that we've gotten ourselves wrapped up into, which changes our ability to do certain things. Can I go on a 3-month excursion, an adventure excursion out in the desert? Not without my wife and kids. And if I did, I'd have to make doubly sure how they're taken care of when I'm gone. I'd have to make doubly sure my wife gets that time off too to do her things. Life takes on different modes when or different responsibilities and obligations as you get into different modes of life. So a lot of the adventuring I did early on, I was still married to Rainey, and we had 1 and 2 kids coming. And then Ellery, the last time I went, we had Ellery. The last time I was in Egypt, which was, God, it was 2016 already. And as you all know, I had my big heart thing and my open heart surgery in February of 2017, but you haven't done any travel since then. Just light going to speak somewhere or going to do an investigation somewhere, but never spent a month in Egypt again since that. Hopefully that's still yet to come. But now my kids are getting older. They're growing up. And so all that to say, life can alter the plans that you made. Getting married, having children, lovely, wonderful things in life, but they do change you. So the idea with 20 years from now, do the things that you want to do. Don't put them off. Don't find excuses for not doing them. Go ahead and step out and do those things. Life is meant to be lived. It's meant to have your adventure. It's meant to explore. It could maybe exploration and adventure to you is sitting home and reading a good book or watching movies or doing things at home, gardening, finding ways to feed your family with your own Liberty Garden in the backyard, as they used to call them. Things like that. There's all kinds of adventure. And we're going to get into that here very shortly tonight. And we may spill over into the captain's cabin after we let the radio audience go. But let's look at this for a second. How do you become a professional adventurer? I've got some tips here. Being adventurous in life is really a positive way of living life. That's what it's all about. And some people prefer their life to be adventurous and full of excitement, and those are the kinds of excitement and adventure life can be maintained through a profession where a person can choose to be adventurous and make a career out of it. But it's not possible for everybody to be able to do that. But being a professional adventurer, a person can live his or her fullest life without barriers or boundaries. But how do you do that? Being a professional adventurer isn't an easy task. And there's certain ways that need to be followed to become a professional adventurer. And they kind of go like this. I've got a few things. I've got a few bullet points here, a few numbered lists, as we like to do on this show. So the first thing, everybody, you ready for this? Get out a pencil or just put it into your brain. But listen to these. Here's what you have to do to become a professional adventurer or an adventurer at all. Number one, identify adventure within yourself. Identify adventure within yourself. A person who wants to make their life a professional adventurer's life needs to explore new adventures of life within themselves. A professional adventurer should be adventurous about something that makes them choose a career out of it. That's when you become the professional. Like I look at my friend John Ward, people would look at him and say, he's an adventurer. He's part of the Explorers League out there, and Explorers Club, I think it is. And something I am not a part of. And but he made his life become the thing that was the adventure for him. And it's his profession. So being an archaeologist in Egypt and the things that he engages in. Now, does he risk life and limb? Does he have to chase Nazis and things like that? No, not necessarily. But he lives a life of adventure and that romantic adventure that all of us have in our minds of what an archaeologist in Egypt does. And his wife is the same. Dr. Maria Nilsson, she is actually the head of their archaeological mission at Gebel El Silsila in Egypt. So by understanding the actual matter about an adventure, you can proceed to make a career out of it. And this is what John did. This is what other friends of mine have done. This is what I have done, in a sense, part-time, and I've tried to make careers out of it. I've written my books about it. I've done my travels. I spent months and months and months in Egypt over the years. And so you have to look at that. You have to identify adventure within yourself. What to you is the adventure that's going to bring you into what you want to be? Number two is consider the outdoor careers. If a person wants to become a professional adventurer, then you need to ask yourself, before making any decision whether or not you really need to become a professional adventurer, then they need to ask themselves about the things relating to adventures, which excite them. If a person from their childhood liked going on outings or hiking or camping or doing adventurous things in their life, then it's a sign that they might be able to choose a life or a profession or a career around adventure. Now, you can see by just talking about that camping, hiking, being in the outdoors. What if you were a National Geographic photographer? Or what if you were a photographer and you went out and you were a freelance photographer and you did your own thing? You sold your own prints. What if you were an artist and out in the wild like that? Being an adventurer, you got to decide and you got to look at the things that were your interests early on in life and what drew you to those things and what made you want to pursue them. Chuck Thurston over in the chat room says, most of the times I left my path of life, kicked my ass back onto the path. I have a two-part scheme of who I am. So that's the other half of me saying, hey, idiot, cut this shit out. That's what we have to do sometimes. Barbie D says, I never wanted to do anything adventurous. Growing up, I like to be close to home. And that's okay. And that's your adventure, Barbie D. Unlike others' adventures. And good evening to everybody who's coming in still. Good to have you here. Those of you who are watching and are not part of the chat room, come on in. We could use you in the chat room. Throw your 2 cents in. Philip Blair says, I'm looking forward to buying your audiobook on Moses, read by you as soon as it's available. Thank you. I think it would be a good gift for family who spent a lot of time on the road too. Yeah. The book was a fun book. The book on Moses was written by John Ward and me, and we have alternate chapters. I think it would be fun to have us both narrate that. Right now, my publisher is probably not going to put the money into that. So if we wanted to do that, we might be able to cut a deal with my publisher that we could do our own book that way and do the recordings ourselves. So, so adventure is something that it's in you. Like Barbie D says, I never had a desire to go out on adventures. I like being at home. That's your adventure. That's where you are. That's where you'd like to be, which is my third point. Find your adventurous strengths. How do you become an adventurer? Find your adventurous strengths. Most of the time, people are very confused about their career because they'd be confused to choose something reliable and unreliable. Nowadays, people think being in a reliable job can provide personal safety and security, fulfilling needs, and so on. But actually, there are ways which can provide you a way to where a person can live his or her hobby as a career that's chosen for them only. And so similarly, being a professional adventurer, a person needs to find out their strengths and relate to that, such as taking dangerous trips, rides, many more, and things like that. Whatever you do for your adventure, maybe it's staying home and doing the things you want to do, which we mentioned at the beginning, which Barbie D mentioned. And that these are very superficial. We're going to get into some deeper stuff here in a couple of minutes when we get through these. But find your adventurous strengths. Find the things that drive you, where you want to be, what you want to do, where you want to go. And then you prep yourself for that. How about number 4? Cultural exploration. Most of the people who like to become an adventurer should try to understand those who excite them out there in the world. What cultures excite you? What is it that draws your attention? There's several types of adventures a professional adventurer likes to follow in their life. And there's some options, like some people might like to study more about ancient history, and they'll follow that, ancient temples, ancient hidden places. Some might be interested in studying more about different types of food stuffs, cuisines, and world travel and things like that. So adventure can take on different forms. So you have to look at it culturally. Is there something with a cultural draw? If you're from here in America, maybe it's staying home in the United States. You want to find out more about the United States. Me, one of the things that draws me here, I love the East Coast, the early colonies of the United States. That's something that's still on my bucket list. I would love to go do some adventuring over on the East Coast and follow American history, pre-American history out there, colonial history. Number 5, becoming an explorer, an adventurer, humanity. So there's some professional adventurers who believe in humanity. That's a kind of adventure they'd like to follow in their life, a life that directs one to an uncommon way of life is a professional. It could be a professional adventurer. Following something fun and entertaining in life is not a type of a professional adventurer's life, so to speak. There are people who believe in serving something for humanity and choose to do something for humanity. Finding those feelings regarding humanity can let one become a professional adventurer. However, I'm going to give the flip side of that. It doesn't always have to be about doing something for somebody else. Being an adventurer and perhaps becoming a professional adventurer is something that's got to suit you. It's got to suit your needs. It's got to suit the things that interest you, the things that you want to follow. It's like I say about this show, and I say about my art, and I say about my travels, my adventure. Everything I do is geared around the things that excite me, the things that make me happy, the things that, and now I'm not saying this to the exclusion of others. I'm talking about the personal dig here. The things that drive me are the things that make me happy, the things that I find fun doing. And as I've said many times, when things like, even like this show, this radio show, I've been doing it for 20 years on and off. As soon as it becomes unfun, I'm not going to do it anymore because I do these things for personal enjoyment. And I think that that's what many people miss when they are looking for ways to do a little adventure, to break outside of their shells. You have to study more about adventure. That's number 6. When a person starts thinking about adventure and excitement in their life, then it's a sign that they should think about doing some great things, setting out on great adventures, doing things that are outside your comfort zone. Do you think the first time I went down into an Egyptian tomb that, yes, it was exciting, but that there wasn't some intrepidation? We went down into a tomb. There was a team of Russian archaeologists in Luxor that were digging at the tombs of the nobles. And John and I just, it sounds funny, we just happened to be walking across this little strip of desert sand to get over to the temple of Menedot Habu. And as we're walking by, we're noticing down in the hole, a big hole, about the size of I don't know, let's just give it a measurement, 40 by 60, 70 feet across. And it's dug down at least 20 feet. And they've got ladders getting down in there. And you see all kinds of pillars around down in the hole there, and outer courts that had been covered up. And there was a tomb in there, and we got to go down. The Russian archaeologists let us come down in and visit what they were doing, because we'd all meet for lunch, the same little place, Mohammed, go figure, Mohammed's Cafe. And it was on a dirt road that across from the dirt road was just desert. So it was open. It was like at the edge of the town. And he had his little mud brick structure and courtyard, and we'd eat lunch there every day. He made great food. It's about as local as you could get. And the Russian team would always come in. We finally introduced ourselves. And they invited us to come and see their dig the next day, which we did. And we went down into the dig. Now, some of these temples or these tombs that have been excavated decades ago, and they've got stairways in and wooden planks with handrails and lighting and everything. They had a few light bulbs strung on an electrical cord all the way down this shaft, and the shaft was at a diagonal. There were no stairs. There had been no stairs put in yet. And so we went down into the lower sepulcher down there, the tomb itself. And we had to go down this diagonal shaft, and you got to what would be like a stairway landing, but it was open, and it dropped. It had to drop at least 30 meters down to the bottom. And there were 2 planks across it. So you had to walk across the plank. You put your hand on the ceiling and on the wall to make sure you were steady. And you walked across the planks to the next shaft that went down at another diagonal down to the bottom. And when we got down to the bottom, the rooms were carved out of the rock. There were pillars that were carved out of the rock, and they were cleaning it, and they were cleaning the mummies they found there, or at least cataloging them. And they had some of those little roll carts. I have one around here like you find at Walmart or Target. And these roll carts, several of them, and like egg crates or milk crates that go, all filled with the remains of mummies. And there was one, his head was sitting right on top with his mouth open, his eyes closed, very blackened skin from age under there. And John and I were saying, John says, look, Scotty, it looks like he could just start talking to you. And it was very interesting because up top, before we went down, there was another room where they had, I could peek in. We didn't go in that one, but they had a huge sarcophagus in the shape of a pharaoh. Think of like King Tut's coffin. You think of that. And it was ornately colored. And I didn't take a picture of it. I didn't even ask. That's their work. I wouldn't have taken a picture of that. But they were cleaning it and they were digging it out. And the door was too small for it, but you could see through the door with the lighting they had in there that this is what was in there. And that thing had to be, it was as high, if not taller than a man's head when it was laying on its side. And so the big ornate outer coffin. And so things like that. But all of that to say that there are things that you do, there are things that you engage in. There's certain adventures you get yourself involved in that kind of take you outside, not your comfort zone, but the things that you're used to doing. So you have to study more about those. And there's all different kinds of things you can do to look into jobs that are a profession for your adventures. But I want to move on to a little bit of something else here. I want to look at, there's 33 ways to lead a more adventurous life. And it's 9:36 now. I don't know if we're going to get through all of these, but we're going to start and we're going to try. And these 33 ways to lead a more adventurous life is where I want to take this. Now remember, like I said, being an adventurer is the thing you choose to do. It's a way of life. It may not be your full-time profession. This is the first thing that you will find if you want to set out on this life, is that many times this isn't the part of your life that makes you a living. Although you can make a living for you, it's not usually the thing that can make you make a living. So we're all about getting the most out of our lives. And when I use that quote 20 years from now, it's like saying, if there's something that you want to do, that you dream of doing, the things that you want to engage in, that you want to seek out, don't put them off. If you put them off, that's where it's going to be 20 years from now, and you're not going to have the opportunity to do it later. And Philip Blair, I see your call coming in. Something I haven't announced for a while. I can't take calls while we are on the streaming part of the radio show to the radio station. It's a glitch that we have not worked out yet. It's something we used to be able to do, and something changed. We can't get that streaming to work with calls. So if you can hold off until the captain's cabin, I can take your call in the captain's cabin, because we'll be off air and not streaming to the radio station. So you have to look at the things that you're doing. You have to look at your life. And one of the things you have to do is review what you've done so far in your life. And are you doing the things you want to do? Because many times, how many people do you know or know of that have lived their whole lives in either, maybe it's service to their family, to their spouse, they're giving themselves, which are all great, noble things, but they never found ways to pursue the things they wanted to do. They never found ways to incorporate their family into pursuing that together. What could you do as a family? Let's say you wanted to, Rainey and I talked about this. What if you wanted to get a big RV, a big motor coach, sell the house, get rid of all your belongings, put in storage anything you want to keep for a few years down the road, and set off on your adventure in an RV? Now, maybe you go, well, I don't have the money to do that. Well, how do you get the money to do that? You make the effort to make that happen. You find ways to make that happen. You save for it. You find sponsors for it, whatever it might be. You find ways to make that work for you. So there's nothing you can't do if you don't want to do it. I had people when John and I set that trip for Egypt and set the tour following that first year we were out there doing the book research expedition. And we followed that for 2 weeks. And we put it out there. If you want to come on this expedition with us, come on. Next year, we're going to do it. And that was one thing that we said, look, if you want to go. And there were so many people that said, I'd go. I just can't afford it. I said, it's $850 to get your ticket to and from Cairo, round trip. So the trip itself was a few $1,000s. I said, but it covers everything. Now, if you could come up with $4,000 to $5,000, you could come on that trip with us. That's a hard thing for many people to do. You can take loans out for it. You can save for it. You might have it already, things like that. What I'm saying is that if there is something you want to do in life, don't put it off because you can find every excuse in the book not to do it, especially money. You find ways to make it work. You do what you want to do. You make happen what you want to have happen. And that's why I use that quote 20 years from now. Because you don't want to get 20 years out and go, I could have done it back then, and I just didn't. I made every excuse in the book to not do it. Trip of several lifetimes, says Michelle Canterbury. Exactly. I've gone to Egypt 4 or 5 times now. I'm trying to think. 13, 14, 15, and 16. 4 times each year. I've gone for a month each time. And I don't regret it at all. But I was able to do it on a shoestring. So there you go. 4K for a trip to Cairo. You don't say. Yeah. And it's not just Cairo. We did Cairo for the first 3 days. From Cairo, we hopped in a bus with just our group. We had 14 people plus some of our archaeologist friends who came along. And this that was so neat about doing this with John and Maria is all their archaeological connections out there. We had 6 other archaeologists that were with the Ministry of Antiquities in Egypt that met up with us at different places. Some of them rode the boat, the Dahabea we were on, for 10 days of the trip and went to every site with us. And it was fantastic. But we went from Cairo. We went down to the Saqqara, the stepped pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, where incidentally I had that vision that I've told you about many times, which I'm not given to. Those of you joining new or hearing me for the first time, I'm not given to those things. I'm not too weird, but that happened to me at Saqqara. Anyway, we went from there. We drove out we went under the Suez Canal and went out into the Sinai Desert and down to Serbet el Khadim, and which Flinders Petrie, archaeologist 100 years ago, thought that was Mount Sinai of the Bible. Might have been. It may have just been one of the stopping places that the Israelites stopped at to pick up more of the slaves, those working in the mines there, and then they moved on to more to central Sinai, or even across the Gulf of Aqaba into what is now Saudi Arabia, where Mount Sinai may have existed. So, all of that to say, there's things. That was our trip, Michelle. Yeah, many trips in one trip, lifetimes in trips, and so one of the things you want to do is review what you've done in your life so far. You got to look at the calendar. Remember what you've done that year. Some years you might be, I look at mine, some years, the last 5 years, especially 6 years, bereft of adventure, bereft of travel and excitement. I was looking back, it was post-heart surgery, post-hip surgery a year later. And I'm thinking, that's it. At the time, I was saying, am I 55-something years old and that's it? I got no more adventures in me? And so it's been building up to that point. I'm ready to go again now. There's travels, there's excitements, there's years that were a lot more interesting than the year I'm in now. But looking back, you have to look at what was memorable. What are the things that were packed with your amazing experiences? And from a retrospective view of my own calendar, the exercise became more of a proactive bucket list. You look at that and you go, I haven't done much in the last few years. Of necessity, but I haven't. I've also got a family like I didn't have before, a bigger family. What are my responsibilities? The itch, says Michelle Canham Free over in the chat room. You got it. Hey, Corey Blake. Good to have you here. Corey, I haven't seen you in a long time. It's sure good to see. I was thinking of you not long ago. So glad to see you in here tonight, brother. Thanks for coming into the show. And so you have to look back and make your life a retrospective of the things. Look back at your last year, all of you. Look back at the last 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ask yourself, what have I done? If 20 years from now I regret more of the things I didn't do than what I did, 6 years for me is 6 of those years. I've got 14 left of those to decide on the things I want to do so I don't regret not doing them later. So you make time for what you want to do. You make a way. You make a path. If you've got a family, you make a path with your family. And so that exercise of looking back became really an exercise of saying, here's my new bucket list. Here's all the places I want to go and all the things I want to do that I haven't done yet. People don't realize how much they've done. And they often say, I couldn't do this or that. I'm bored with my life. My life isn't like yours. I've had people say that to me. I go, look, my life's pretty normal. I've just done a few extraordinary things along the way. That might be an understatement, but yeah, I have. But one reason I got to start with this tip is that people are genuinely amazed and proud of the things that they've actually already done. So look back. Realize the things that you've done. Review your life so far and see where the gaps might be. Number 2, the bucket list is yours. It doesn't have to stack up and compare to anyone else's bucket list. My bucket list might look very different than Barbie D's bucket list over there in the chat room. You don't have to stack your bucket list up against anybody. And as I would say, I'd give it a hearty fuck that, because you're doing what is good for you. And by the way, what is good for you, if it's not good for those that you have an obligation to, your family, responsibilities, then it's not good for you either. I just want to make a statement on that. You don't leave your family. You don't do things like that, stupid things, in order to do what you want to do and leave your family in the dust or your obligations in the dust. Can't do that. It's a totally different show. Mark my words. That is not what you do to gain your adventures in life. But the main point is the bucket list is yours. It has to suit you. It doesn't have to be a massive, impressive thing. You don't have to sail around the world in my private boat or ski to the South Pole. It can literally be going outside if you're afraid of going outside, if you're an agoraphobic, you don't like crowds, you don't like open places. It could be your backyard. Making up with your dad because you fell out and haven't spoken to him for 6 months or 6 years. Making a cake because you've never made a cake before. It can be anything and everything so long as it is what you want and what you want to be. It doesn't have to be a massive, impressive thing. 3, you can make friends wherever you go. I end up having fantastic conversations with people all over the world, and they inspire me. They'll tell me what they've done, where they've been, what they think I should do next. I just got, just before the show started, 3 minutes before the show, I got a message from a friend of mine who sent me a picture very similar to what it looked like. I haven't even opened it up yet. I could see the thumbnail of it. And she and her husband just went to Greece. And just so you know, they're not an old retired couple that finally have money to do that. They're younger than me by at least 10, 15 years. And they travel when they can. They went to Greece. They saw ancient sites. And she sent me a picture. And it had some visual qualities of a picture she sent me a few years ago when they were in Israel, and that she thought was ghostly, and she wanted me to take a look at it. And she said, I guess this is what I do when I travel. And I saw that I wrote her and said, I'll take a look at it after the show. I can't wait to see what she sent me. So you get conversations with people, where they've been, what they do. You might read an article in an in-flight magazine when you're flying from here to Cleveland for something. Or someone's going to mention a festival or an event or a country or a hut in the middle of nowhere. And I know when my spidey senses are out there, and I detect that these are things I'm picking up on and cool stuff I want to see. Something I've never done. I always wanted to go to Beijing. I want to see the Forbidden City. I'd like to see Moscow. There are other places. Those are big places. There's the little places I'd like to see that are way far out of the way. I went the first time I was in Egypt, the last couple of days I was there, we went with another archaeologist who came, and he was looking for the lost quarries of Armant, south of Luxor. And if you go to my website, scottallenroberts.com, click on the About Me link, you're going to see a picture of me up on the hills, the mountainous desert region down south of Luxor, Egypt. And you'll see it just spanning off into the nothingness behind me. And we crawled up this hill that had a stone wall, a Roman wall on either side of the wadi around us. And I got to watch my clock, by the way. I see I'm on a rabbit trail. This is such an easy topic to rabbit trail on that maybe we'll extend this out. We'll bring it definitely and talk more about it in the captain's cabin after we're done with the radio. So those of you listening on radio in a few minutes, well, it's about 6 minutes out from now. We have to end on the radio, but you can come and join us on the YouTube channel and see more. We'll keep going with some of this. But and let me shift back my gears. Write things down. I just pop any ideas onto my phone or onto a piece of paper. I got little bits of paper like this all over the place with notes all over them. I keep these memos. I got stuff, and I stick them all over my computer. They're stuck to my screen and things like that. All these different things. But take your notes. Remember them. And then every now and again, sit down and put them on your website or put them on your Facebook or chat about them. Put a blog out. Talk about them. Have coffee with somebody and talk about these things. Having it written down somewhere, whether it's on a bucket, on your wall, on a tattoo, website or blog, makes it much easier and more likely to happen. Having it written down somewhere makes it much more likely to happen. Now, something I've talked about in business is a big factor here too. Number 5, choose your attitude and take positive steps toward making it happen. Choose your attitude. Things are going to happen that aren't always great. Life has hitches. Life has babies. So you have to choose your attitude. You can choose to be negative, or I was going to say cross, but that's such an old word for being pissed off. You can be cross. You can be pissed off, upset. You might want to quit. You might want to think that you can't do something, or that you can choose to embrace the situation and step up to it. Be positive. Choose your attitude. Be motivated. Be constructive about it. That just makes such a massive difference. So with these things, 95% of it is your attitude. Don't limit yourself with negative labels. I'll never be able to do that. I'll never get there. I'll never have the ability. I just can't. I can't take off work. I'm tied down. Blah, 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 bitty, blah, blah, blah. Don't limit yourself with negative labels. If you think that you can't do something, that you haven't got the skills, that you'll be sick, that others will be better, that you're not fit enough, or it's too far, These thoughts are all going to limit you and potentially stop you. So just switch them around and say, I can do this. I got this. It's like I tell my son, totally different set of circumstances, but you ask my son, hey, do the dishes, and he grumbles and groans, and I go, son, I said, you don't have to grumble and groan. How about look at your mom, instead of grumbling and groaning and griping and complaining, say, Mom, okay, I got this. I'm on it. I said, make your attitude be there and let your attitude guide the way you're going to do something. Choose your attitude. These thoughts are all going to limit you and potentially stop you if you don't. So just switch them around and say, I got this. I can do this. I can learn to do whatever I need to do. Others might look fitter, but I guess they're going to be as nervous as I am. I am capable. I can get to the end. I can go the distance, as the old song pops into my head from the Hercules cartoon with Disney from years ago. You know, I have often dreamed of a far-off place where the now I can't remember the words because I wanted to deliver them to you, but where he says I can go the distance, I think is what the song was, and maybe adopt that. What about that song? I can go the distance. I'm going to look up the lyrics from Hercules because it's worth looking at. Where are the lyrics? Lyrics. Here you go. It says these: I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a great warm welcome will be waiting for me, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, this is where I'm meant to be. And then it goes on, I will find my way. I can go the distance. I'll be there someday if I can be strong. I know every mile will be worth my while. I would go most anywhere to feel like I belong. And of course, there was more behind the song than that. He says, I'm on my way. I can go the distance. I don't care how far. Somehow I'll be strong. I know, and it says, I know every mile will be worth a while. I would go most anywhere to find where I belong. And that's that song that popped into my head. Maybe this is the attitude we need to adopt. I'll do what it takes. I'll go the extra mile. I'll do what I need to do to be able to accomplish these things. Not out of selfishness, but out of self-fulfillment-ishness. So, these are the things we have to do. Don't just think it, do it. 95% of it is your attitude. You have to use your past successes to feed your attitude. And you know what? We're done on the radio. I forgot to say goodbye to the radio audience. Sorry, radio audience. I ran out of time. I sent you out with a song, I guess. So it's just us. We're in the captain's cabin. Now, let me, just for the fun of it, let's take a 1-minute break, and then I'll come back in and we'll pick this right up where we left off. So everybody, radio audience, sorry I missed you. Live long and prosper and all of that. But for now, let's just go out to the captain's cabin. Stand by. Well, hey, gang, welcome back to the Captain's Cabin R. And we were talking about all this stuff in life, the adventures of life. Now, by the way, it's easy to call in now because we don't have that hink that keeps us from broadcasting properly when I take callers during the live stream of the show. So go ahead and call in if you want to call in. If you need the link, let me paste it into the chat room. And you can call in and talk about any of this stuff that we're talking about tonight. But as I was saying, you have to use your past successes to feed your attitude. The more you survive, the more you realize what you've got in you. The more you dig deep, the more you realize that there's deeper that you can go. Have you ever noticed that? You ever notice there's things you strive to do and you go, I'm never going to make that. And when you finally get to that point, you go, I got more in me. I can go even further, no matter what it is. I found that. The more you dig deep, the more you realize there is deeper that you can go. Amazingly, we're all so much more of capable than what we think we are. And I've now got to a point of reference in my life where I've dug deep a lot and I've realized that I can. I've got a can-do attitude. I'm pretty positive. I'm probably more positive now than I used to be, and I'm more of a cynic now than I ever used to be. I'm more jaded now than I ever used to be, and I'm still got a positive attitude. Jaded with realism, perhaps. But use your past successes to feed your attitude. We're very, very capable as human beings. And we have a great depth of character and resilience within us that we don't have to use in our daily lives. Reserve that and use it for these things. The more you dig deep, the more you realize there's deeper you can go. The whole just do it thing, there's always going to be excuses to not do things. And on one hand, it's about throwing those all in the trash bin and just getting on with it. On a more gentle note, just do one thing. If it's a massive challenge, just do that thing. Because you can. But if people are a bit more reticent or worried, then just choose the one thing in a small stretch. And you're going to learn from the fact that you've really enjoyed it. You enjoyed the accomplishment that comes with it. And you're going to be really proud and realize you can do something bigger. So don't let your excuses stop you. Keep striving for it with the right attitude. Try one relatively easy thing and take it one activity at a time. So save up for an adventure is number 8 on this list. There's loads of mini and free adventures out there. Alastair Humphreys used to say, it's not necessarily about the big adventures, it's about the mini adventures on the way. There's mini and free adventures out there. Things that hardly cost you a penny. Maybe a little gas money to get somewhere. And having a picnic on a mountain or wild camping in the woods doesn't cost you much of anything. I say that now. There's always something you got to go buy. I'm missing tent pegs. You got to go buy your tent pegs. Whatever. I once flew out to Egypt, and I realized that there were things that I was missing I could have packed, and I had to spend money. So, happens sometimes. So there's, for bigger adventures that cost real money, just do your best to save up. I know in this economy, in this day and age, it's really hard to save up for some big things. But if you can, make that happen. Set some aside. Any financial planner you'll talk to, even if you're behind the 8 ball on your money, the money you have, they say make sure to put money aside for yourself. Pay yourself too. Just a thought. And keep that money separate. That's your bucket list money. Do you have a savings account that's strictly your bucket list account? Maybe you should have one. Just a thought. Just a thought. And that was kind of the 8 preliminary things before I hit my list of 33 other things. So we'll do those another time. I love poetry too. Aisha. I don't know where Aisha came. Is Aisha your given name? Because I know you've gone by Paige. I've known you by Paige. So tell me about that a little bit. Aisha loves chocolate. Let's see. Oh, Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship is weathered every rock. The prize we sought is won. There it is, Sean Stroik. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Bucket list budget. There it is. Exactly, Philip. So, adventure. It's something we all can do. It's something we. I put this. I slapped this on real quick before the show, and I didn't do it right. So it was kind of falling apart. But I remember the first time I had this done. John Ward showed me in Egypt. I said, "How do I do this the right way?" And he gave me this scarf. It's an British Egyptian military, and he just took it from one corner like this, and he twisted it around like this until he had a nice, tight, long. There, we'll get it ready. There it is. So something like that, and he put it on this way, and then wrapped it around like this. And he took the one side and tucked it in down here. And he took the other side and tucked it around the other way as it wrapped around. And so that's ended up how I ended up wearing this thing the whole time I was in Egypt. And I also had a piece I put over my head almost the same way, and I would tie it like a pirate, The other way I wore this thing in Egypt was I would take the whole loose end of it. I would take, and I suppose some of you who are real life adventurers would look at this and go, "What the hell are you talking about?" Nothing. No, we're just playing around. So I would take, and I'd do the big triangle like this, and I would tie it up like so, and I would just tie it in the back, and let that all hang. And that was my do-raggy way of wearing my scarf when it was really hot outside, and I wanted to keep the sun off the top of my head, so I'd wear it like that. And I love my scarves too. So there you go. And I love this scarf. I've had this for a long time. I got this in 2013. John Ward gave this to me. My first trip out to Egypt. So it's a little sexy. Scotty Roberts says, Sean Strike. Why, thank you very much, Sean. Sir Yusuf, adventure is an attitude as well as an action. Yes, it is. That's one of the last things I said. You bring your attitude. You make your own attitude. You make it happen. Yeah, exactly, Philip Blair. Arr. Let's see. What else we got? Michelle, I agree with Sean, Scotty. Oh, why, thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much. And so, money I have? LOL, says Sean Stroik. Money, I don't have lots of extra money to travel these days. Everybody's tight these days. I don't know many people that aren't tight. We're all tight right now. Economy sucks right now. And so saving up for something like this, that might be one of those things you say, I've got to save up to do this a ways down the road. It ain't going to happen this year. And, a lot of things would have to fall in place for a new adventure to happen this year. So it might be next year. I know we've talked on this show about all of us taking a trip, doing a trip to Egypt. And I know a lot of people like that idea, and they're open to that idea. You open to the idea to going to Egypt for a trip? I get John Ward and Maria Nilsson. We'll get that all rigged up, and will go. I think we'd have a great time doing that. I don't know where Uncle Dave is. He was here at the very beginning, wasn't he? I thought he was. At some point, I thought I saw him come in. I'm scrolling back through. Yeah, he was here earlier. He says, my life has been an adventure. I don't regret anything I've done, but I'm not done yet. There you go. Yeah, same here. I don't regret things I've done. I sometimes regret the things I haven't done. My only regrets fall around the mistakes I've made, where I've hurt people or I've done things. I've never gone out of my way to hurt anybody, but I have done things. I have mismanaged things at times where I've hurt people greatly. And I regret those things. Those are the only kinds of regrets I have because I can't take it back. I can't fix it. I can't regain the friendship I once had with somebody because it's something I mismanaged and something that fell apart at my hands and hurt them as much as it hurt me. And it hurt me in a way that I can survive the pain I inflict on myself sometimes. It's when it spills over and affects somebody else and it hurts them that I can't change. And so that stuff happens. Stuff like that happens. So Uncle Dave doesn't feel up to calling. He's just listening in. I hope you're feeling okay, Dave. I know you were sick a few days ago, so I hope things are going okay. I hope you don't feel bad. Wish, says Michelle Canham Free. So what's everybody else? I'd love to go to Egypt, visit the Great Pyramid. Absolutely. You can see, I'm going to find a link while we're talking here. I want to show you, let's see, Meg, I got to see if I can find this link, if I can remember where it is. Hang on a second. I got to find, there's a site that has you can order some of the old Intrepid magazines. And you can do that with, I don't even know if the site is still active. Let me see. Intrepid mag.com. So when we ran the magazine, yeah, it's still there. Click here to purchase back issues. There you go. If you go to that link, take a look at this. I'm going to give you a direct link to this. There's actually 2 issues you could look at. I'm going to give you this one. This is the issue of the magazine that came out in 2014. Let's see, let me find it, where to paste it here, right here. Go here. You have the ability, go there. You can browse through this magazine. This was Intrepid magazine back in 2014, the one that we put together after the trip we took. And what you can do, if you go to that link, you should be able to click on the magazine, and it opens up into a full screen of the magazine, and you can use your arrows and you can flip through all the pages. It's laid out in 2-page spreads digitally. And you can see this whole trip and all the things that we did on that trip. It was a follow-up to our, and we've got our itinerary in there, day 1 through day 14. It's all in there, and including other stuff. You can also see, if you go to that link, you can see this was our magazine booklet that was a souvenir to everybody who was on the trip. This was our itinerary, and this is everything we did. We followed this itinerary to the T as we were taking that trip, and that's this link. You'll see both of these issues, and you can buy these in hard copy. They're expensive. I don't make any money on them. I just put them up there. I think they're like $17 an issue or something like that, if memory serves. If you buy them, you can click on that and see, and then you have a hard copy of it if you so desire. So that's that magazine. So you can take a look. And at least you can go flip through them digitally right now, or anytime. So, what else we got going here? Corey Blake, once again, it's so good to see you here. I see your name. That makes my heart feel good. I was thinking about you not very long ago, like in the last week or so. I was thinking, I wonder whatever happened to Corey Blake. And I was going to try to look you up and see what's going on. So it's good to have you back here. And don't be a stranger so long next time. You went all in a Winnebago. That's pretty cool, Philip. Pretty cool. Or Randall, I mean, I'm sorry. We did 48 states as a family. Great times. But it was all by age 10. I think I'd appreciate it more as an adult. Yeah, that's it. You know, travel with my family. I wanted to wait till my kids were a little older, and then I waited too long and we didn't do it. Not the same way. My twin daughters came with me in 2014 on the Egyptian trip. And that was an experience of a lifetime with them. And there's a beautiful video they put together. And I don't know if I ever showed it, but I would love for you to see it. Do you remember it, folks? My daughters, after the trip, put together a little video. Lasts about 10 minutes. And it's of that trip that we took in 2014. I'm wondering if I still have that. If I do, I might play that for you. It's 10 minutes. It's all right. Maybe 11 minutes. But let's see if I can find it. If I've even got it on this computer. Let's find out. Exodus reality. Let's see what comes up. Nope, that's no, it's just an ad. Let's see. Egypt is calling you to. This was here. Listen to this. This was our ad for the Exodus reality. Let's see if it. No, it doesn't allow me to load it because it's just audio. Oops, looks like that's not a video file. It says. So there's another place to look for this. I'm going to see if, because I think you'll like this. My girls compiled this from all our photos and videos taken on that trip. And I think you'll enjoy this. If you haven't seen it here before, let's see here. It is going to be in here. Let's see if I can find it for you. I think you'll enjoy it. Boom, boom, boom. I'm looking for it. Commentary, rollicking adventure, and book readings, which is cave, info, la yada yada. Might not be in here. It's in my other one. So, hang on. Let's see if I can even access it. There's my channel. And I want to go to, maybe I can't. I got to find it somewhere. It's somewhere. My videos. Let's take a look because this is so neat. They put some cool songs in the background to it, which made it very nice. I loved it. I loved what they did. And I thought for sure I had that in here. I thought for sure I had it on my computer at one point or another. I know this is not riveting radio right now, but we're in the after show. So we can kind of do whatever the hell we want. Let's see here. Let me try this. I'm going to look for a video file. And I'm going to look for, let's try ERA. Exodus Reality Adventure. That would be in here. And ERA. Nope. And we go here and go Exodus. Is that it? Oh, this might be it. Here it is. You guys ready? Before I start it up here, this is a video my girls did of our trip in 2014 as a commemorative, and they sent it to me. So watch this from the very beginning. I think you'll really like this. Where have I got that? I've got it in, it's in my downloads. So let's see what the time is on this, if it tells me. Last open, dimensions. One, blah, 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 blah. Okay. All right, you ready for this? You want to see this? Because I'm going to show it to you now. It's going to open almost immediately when it comes in here. Here we go. My daughters.
If you love somebody, better tell them why they're here, 'cause they just may run away from you. You'll never know quite when, well, then again it just depends on how long the time is left for you. I've had the highest mountains, I've had the deepest river. You can have it all, but life keeps moving. Take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, I'm on top of the world, Been waiting on this for a while now.
Rocky Spooky, I see you out there.
I've been waiting to smile, Been holding it in for a while, Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. I'm on top of the world. I've tried to cut these corners, try to take the easy way out. I kept on falling short of something. I could have gave up then, but then again I couldn't have, 'cause I've traveled all this way for something. I take it in, but don't look down. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, I'm on top of the world, Been waiting on this for a while now. Paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to smile, Been holding it in for a while, Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. I'm on top of the world. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, I'm on top of the world, Been waiting on this for a while now. Paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to smile, Been holding it in for a while, Take you with me if I can. Been dreaming of this since a child. And I know it's hard when you're falling down, and it's a long way up, and you make the ground, but get up now, get up now. And I know it's hard when you're falling down, and it's a long way up, and you make the ground, but get up now, get up now. 'Cause I'm on top of the world, I'm on top of the world, Paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to start all that talk, but the only for a while, Take you with me if I can. Dreaming of this if you try. I'm on top of the world.
Here's Sakara with the step brother brochure. As they were working on it. Look at that. It's ancient, even the work.
For you, sorry guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yep. The Sarah Pan. John and Maria's archaeological site, Devil Elsie's Hill. That's Maria. This is down near Aswan.
Hello again from Camelback.
That's Abby talking.
I have a very nice camel who I have decided to name Carmel the Camel. And I feel very safe with my about to be 7 or 8-year-old guide guiding me. Very safe. No, actually it is quite safe and comfortable. That's Julie and Bryn up front. Oh, Brenda is behind us. And we're leaving the rest of the group in the dust.
This was at the monastery of St. Simeon. There it is. The top of the church.
Woke up in London yesterday, found myself in the city near Piccadilly. Don't really know how I got here. I got some pictures on my phone, new names and numbers that I don't.
No crocodile sightings yet.
Cut
It's
your
Lake
finger.
Nasser.
A little cut in your finger, then down
That's
to the
Chris
water.
Conway.
Drops of
Yeah,
blood.
you'll get a
Think
crocodile.
so?
Yeah.
This could really be a good life, good life. I say, oh, this is feeling that you can't fight. The city is on fire tonight. This could really be a good life, good life. To my friends in New York, I say hello. My friends in LA, they don't know where I've been for the past few years or so. Paris to China to Colorado. Sometimes there's airplanes I can't jump out. Sometimes it's bullshit that don't work now. We have got our stories, but please tell me what there's to complain about. When you're happy like a fool, you let it take you over. When everything is out, you gotta take it in. Oh, this has gotta be the good life. This has gotta be the good life. This could really be a good life, good life. I say, oh, this feeling that you can't fight. The city is on fire tonight. This could really be a good life, a good life.
Review. Go. Yeah. Yes. It was so important sounding. Wow. I feel so educated. That was wonderful. Thank you.
You understood that?
Yes.
Fantastic. Shall we continue, Brent? Yes. Rudely interrupted by your sister.
Picture of you now, 'cause hopelessly the hopeless we have so much to feel good about. Oh, this has gotta be the good life. This has gotta be the good life. This could really be a good life, good life. I say, oh, this feeling that you can't fight. The city is on fire tonight. This could really be a good life, a good life. less to complain about.
There you go.
This is a much better vantage point now that I'm not in front. Oh, hi, Chris. You look very natural on a camel. Yes, do you feel natural?
No.
And that was it. So that was beautiful that my daughters did that for me. And here we have it. All right. So that's adventure. That's what it's about. Doing these kinds of things. Now, that was a trip, too. Many people, that was a trip. It was a vacation. It was an adventurous trip. But see you, Corey. Good to have you here. So that gives you a taste of what that was like. And anybody else got anything that you'd like to talk about? What am I missing here? Okay. So I don't think I have much more to say after watching that video. We can talk about these things again, about being an adventurer, doing the things. How do you become one? What do you do to become one? And so it's all about attitude. It's all about what you want to do. It's all about making things happen. And that's it. Anybody else have anything else to say in closing? Otherwise, I'm going to get out of here. Love you all. I appreciate your being here. Be sure to go over to my Patreon site, patreon.com/Scotty Roberts. Sign up over there. Let's get this show where it should be, and me putting the time into it that I'd like to put into it. So we'll make it happen. Thank you, Michelle Cannon-Free. I appreciate it. And absolutely, Sean. My pleasure. Thank you, Philip. We had a fun time, to be sure. So, feeling better. I am, Sean. I am. It was mostly unrelated things. So my heart, just in case anybody missed it, my heart is strong. It's good. They said there's been no degradation since the first surgery. That everything there is strong. There was no problems with my heart. They put me through just about every test you can go through. So 3 days in the hospital last week. So it was kind of I said, I feel a little like the boy who cried wolf. They said, no, you say whenever you feel something, you need to come in. And it was actually the doctors that determined they needed to send me up to the big hospital to have all the tests because something looked irregular to them. But it was actually not as unregular as we thought it might have been. So you're welcome, Matthew. Thanks for being here, brother. Good to see you from Barbados. And thank you, Sean Stroik. I appreciate that. So on that note, I will take my leave of you. And you all go have a good rest of your evening. And I'll see you here again on Friday. All things God willing and all things working out. So for now, live long and prosper.